Hog mollies. It is a nickname particularly in American football for large, strong offensive linemen, often used to describe players who are physically imposing and excel in the trenches. So yeah, if you didn't know, that's what a hog molly is. And we're talking hog mollies today. I'm going to go over my top 10 centers and guards in the 2025 NFL draft. Stick around to the end because I'm going to go over some of my honorable mentions. But of course, a special thanks to our friends over at Underdog Fantasy. Thank you for sponsoring today's video. More on them a little bit later, but let's go ahead and do the dang thing. At number 10, it's Emory Jones Jr. out of LSU. He's 6'5", 315 pounds, currently at 126 on my big board. And at the beginning of the year, he was talked about as a potential first-round prospect. And we'll go over why that isn't so much the case, but he's a former 4-star recruit out of the 2022 recruiting class, also played basketball in high school, and was an immediate starter at LSU, started all 14 games, played in 14, started 12 games at right tackle, was a SEC all-freshman team, and then he was a full-time starter from there on out. He made second team all-SEC in 2023, and then once again in 2024. And it wasn't exactly an ideal year. He had some hiccups along the road. He had some games that, well, were kind of rough. I think specifically the South Carolina game was just an utter nightmare, but there's no denying the tools when it comes to Emory Jones because he is long, he is strong, he's got huge hands, long arms with 34, close to 35-inch arms, and he really relishes in the hand fight, and he hits with some good pop, good impact on contact. I think he could kick inside, play guard, and battle in a phone booth, and I'd be A-okay with it. But he's actually got some relatively, I don't want to say, yeah, I'll say it, good feet. He is light on his feet. He is a fluid mover. He does a good job mirroring, and he effortlessly can adjust to defenders in pass protection, and he gets moving in a hurry. He can combo block really, really well in the run game. I think he uses his hands relatively well. The hand placement could be a bit better, but he plays with quick hands. He does a good job at swiping hands away that get into his strike zone or under his pads, basically in that chest area. I think he does a good job of that. And you see at least the ability to use his hands independently, where like he can do one thing with another hand where he's like maybe holding a defender off and maybe look to use the other hand to maybe put hands on another defender or use it to like swipe or clear part of his body. Like I think he does a good job of that, and he's a little better than people anticipate. Like he can get good leverage. He could reset his hands quickly, reset his anchor, his leverage in general quickly, and there's a lot to like. There is a lot to like, but playing at tackle, there are some legitimate concerns. Dude plays with blinders on. Like he isn't looking for stunts. He isn't looking for that extra rusher. You know, he is very much, I am going to play the guy that is laid out in front of me. When it comes to engagement, he's got quick feet, but he does stop his feet on initial contact, which makes him susceptible to some balance problems. If he's dealing with especially a violent pass rusher or maybe someone who's really good with speed to power. And I also talked about the hand placement isn't always ideal. Sometimes he will strike a little wide. Kind of is what it is. I think that there's enough meat on the bone here to be a future NFL starter. I just don't know if that's going to be at the tackle position. Tyler Steen kind of feels like a really good comp. A guy who was arguably a tackle at Alabama, came in, didn't know if he was going to be a tackle or a guard in the NFL, and is kind of for the Eagles has become that guard for them. At number 9, it's my guy in this class. It's Jackson Slater out of Sacramento State. He's 6'3", 320 pounds. Let's go over the background real quick, as he was a former 3-star recruit from the 2021 recruiting class. He played both offensive and defensive line in high school, played basketball, baseball, and participated in track and field. This man was a busy boy in high school. He was an immediate starter for the most part at Sacramento State. Ended up starting the final 9 games his freshman season. Was a full-time starter from there on out. Made first team All Big Sky in both 2022 and in 2023. He started the first 9 games at left guard before suffering a season-ending knee injury this past season, but once again was a first team All Big Sky. He was also FCS All-American and didn't watch him till after the Senior Bowl. He had a hell of a good Senior Bowl. I think it's the American group that went on second, had the second slate of practices. I thought that offensive line group was going to get eaten alive, and golly gee, they held up really, really well. And typically when it comes to the Senior Bowl, you will see like the first couple of days, offensive linemen struggle as they kind of get acclimated to like the one-on-ones and who they're facing, maybe catching up on some of their tendencies, what they like to do. And then typically you'll see a strong day 3, but right from the get-go, like Slater, I'll talk about another one of the guys who was on the same team as him, who also impressed me during the Senior Bowl, just held their own and did a hell of a good job. I love the leverage. He's got a natural, like, shorter build, but he has that leverage. He has some solid play strength, and just means he naturally gets good leverage. I would say a lot of people maybe want to pencil him as a center. I think he could stick at guard. I really, really do. But he is hard to move off his anchor. He hardly concedes ground versus power moves. He's also got some pop. He's got some really good grip strength. I like the leg drive that he can use to displace rushers. Displace defenders in the run game. Fluid mover as well. You can tell 40 time. 5.0140. The dude can move and move well in a straight line, but he also put up 31 on the bench. Let's go. And it's not like he's got short arms, 33-inch arms. It's pretty darn solid for an interior player. He's got that nasty. He's got that nasty in the run game. The NFL loves them a player that wants to go out there and bury defenders, and he has certainly got that. Just quick feet, quick hands, able to reset when he needs to. Doesn't mean he's a perfect prospect by any means. The hand placement could be a little bit better. I feel like it could be more precise with his strikes. Kind of takes away from his power when he's not able to connect cleanly on his initial punches. He does take inconsistent angles here and there, like when pulling or climbing. He struggles to get clean hits on the second level. This also kind of shows up in pass protection. I think a bit of that is just kind of dipping his head when expecting or initiating contact. You just lose eyes on the target at that point. Cooper Beebe, I kind of feel like movement skills better than you anticipated. Not enough to play tackle, which Beebe, he was a former tackle that kicked into guard, but then even more so ends up being the starting center last year for the Dallas Cowboys. And I think Slater, hey, better movement skills than you'd expect. Like, again, I truthfully, based on what I saw at the Senior Bowl, I was like, okay, man, this guy's game is power, but he's a pretty solid mover at 320. And then you get to the film, it's like, oh no, he is a really good mover. But yeah, Slater is certainly my guy when it comes to this class. I think you could probably fit him into any scheme. Before we get back to the video, I gotta give a shout out to our friends over at Underdog Fantasy. When you download the app, sign up using promo code BROSHMO, and they will match that first deposit up to $1,000 dues. It's the best place to play weekly best ball. And right now, you can draft rookies. Heck yeah, getting in early on the rookie class. But it's not just football. They got baseball, they got basketball, they got higher and lower on player stats. It's a real fun way to play. They have promos each and every day. So if you do download the app and you sign up, you got to use promo code BROSHMO to take advantage of, hey, they match that first deposit up to $1,000 dues. But please play responsibly and play within your means. At number 8, it's Purdue's own Marcus Bowe, coming in at 6'4", 309 pounds. He currently sits 93 on my big board, which means he is the first guy I have inside the top 100 among this interior class. I think the general draft community is higher on him than I am. I get why that they like him. I'll get into why I'm a little bit lower on him. And it's not like I'm much lower. I think typically people see him in the mid day 2 area. I got him at the back end of the 3rd round. So we're not too far off, but he's a former 3-star recruit from the 2021 recruiting class, did redshirt his freshman year, but became immediately the starter at right guard in 2022. Did move to right tackle though in 2023, played 6 games there before having a season-ending leg injury. 2024, he sticks it at right tackle. I think he's a guard in the NFL, but I get why people think he could probably play tackle. And I'm not saying he can't play tackle. I think he's got the ability to. 33-inch arms, just barely meets the threshold, but he's a very fluid athlete, very smooth athlete, plays with that gusto, plays with urgency. He can be violent and powerful, just very, very quick hands, quick arms. So you can say he definitely has that alignment versatility. However, I think he is a guard in the NFL. Those 33-inch arms, we're talking about a guy that's on the fringe of that threshold. Just stick him at guard. I don't think he necessarily has the length to stay out there. When it comes to his hands, I like the hand usage in general. Like, he's a hand fighter, but you do see his hands have a tendency of slipping more outside during engagement with a defender, which leads to penalties. He had 7 penalties this past year. I think maybe you can mitigate that by kicking him inside the guard. And more so, this is a dude that's still putting together his technique. And hey, the dude's got the work ethic. He's got the work ethic. But I think he was still winning firmly with athleticism and just having a really big motor, just playing with grit rather than actual technique. As you could see with his footwork, it kind of deteriorates after his kick slide and taking initial contact. So on top of his hand placement slowly deteriorating through the rep, so does his footwork. So the balance becomes a bit iffy. Shiftier defenders are able to just kind of basically get him off balance, off tilt. And I mean, in the run game, you kind of wish he wasn't on the ground as much as he was. I have Tevin Jenkins, again, kick him into guard. I think he's probably good for any scheme because I do think the athleticism, the power is really good for him. But with his movement skills, probably more ideal in an outside zone, wide zone blocking scheme. Don't know why he didn't test out at the combine. I don't have him testing out at his pro day either, but I'm going to go back, see if I can get maybe an update, and maybe those numbers are available and I just don't have them right now. But I like Bo quite a bit, just again, not as much as the general community does. And actually, before I move to number 7, I forgot to bring this up, and I said I wanted to because I brought up his work ethic. At the Senior Bowl, he was staying after the practices, talking with the defensive linemen, having a few one-on-one reps with those guys. And you know it's there, the want to get better, the need to get better. So I don't mind that on my squad, even if you can't start him from day 1, maybe even year 2. I think he's someone that's going to develop eventually into a very solid NFL starter. At number 7, it's Miles Frazier out of LSU. He is my guy, and I'll talk about why in a sec. He is 6'6", 324 pounds, currently at 82 on my big board. Former 3-star recruit from the 2020 recruiting class. Started his career actually at Florida International, where he only played in 4 games because, well, it was 2020. The season was shortened because of the Rona. He did get 1 start at left tackle, which is important to note. And he actually started at left tackle the following year and was a freshman All-American, but that's when he decided to transfer. He ends up going to LSU in 2022, and he had 13 starts. He had a start at right tackle. He had 9 starts at left guard, 3 starts at right guard. So 9 starts at left guard, just in case I said that incorrectly. And then he started all 13 games at right guard in 2023. In 2024, he started 12 games at right guard. And then I think for the bowl game, he kicked out to right tackle because Emory Jones opted out. But he's a dude that's going to give you a lot of versatility. I think he could stick it in certain schemes at tackle And he's got versatility on both sides of the offensive line, being a left tackle early in his career and then playing on the right side during his time at LSU. But I think if you're going to take advantage of what he brings to the table, you want to play him in a man gap blocking scheme. The dude is just exceptionally powerful. Very strong frame, very strong grip. He can throw definite strikes if you want him to. He's got vice-like grip and could take defenders for a ride if he needs to. But he also plays with some urgency, man. And that's why I think he's got some swing tackle potential. But as a downhill runner, oh my gosh, plays with a good first step. And that kind of shows up with his 31-inch vert, which again is in the higher percentile. But he is quick to engage. He's got that bury him mindset, so the NFL should love that. But he also has some really good eyes. Just general great feel for pass protection. Like he's shown the ability to pick up on stunts and loops and blitzes. He keeps his head on a swivel, shows really good balance through that despite being a taller guard at 6'6". And the dude is durable. He is versatile, but doesn't mean it's all sunshine and rainbows, right? He at 6'6", he plays tall. He has to consistently grind and work to not just establish, but also maintain leverage throughout the rep. He's heavy limbed, so the arms and legs, I wouldn't say move at a high level. Doesn't mean, oh, he's slow, because he's not. I think he moves pretty well at that size, but it's not exactly like the quick hands and quick feet. When he is on the move, he can become a bit of a lunger. Some of that is like, oh, I'm going to take this kill shot. I see this small obstacle in front of me and I want to annihilate it. And I don't mind that, but there are times where he just mislocates and gets hit with the, not a Toro. Someone corrected me. Is it Olay? I don't know. I don't know. I always reference like matadors. Basically these offensive linemen come charging on the second level like a bull, and a defender's just there with the little red cape. Ha! Olay! I don't know. But I fell in love with Frazier at the Senior Bowl. I thought he was the best LSU lineman there, and Emory Jones was there. So like all the eyes were on Emory Jones, and I'm here looking at Frazier like, no, this dude's kind of cracked. This dude's kind of nuts. Like feels like he's done nothing but win. So I think he's got just a very reliable body type, very reliable style. I think he just fits in perfect with the man gap scheme. So John Feliciano kind of felt like a pretty solid comp. They also kind of line up in metrics. You like the NFL draft. Matter of fact, you love the NFL draft, which means you're going to love my draft guide. If you want to know every player your team drafts or even signs as an undrafted free agent, then this is for you. My draft guide updates every day, and you'll be able to see those updates in real time as I add new evals and player backgrounds. It'll have analytics from this year and last year. It'll have the pro day and combine numbers. It'll even have my notes from the Senior and Shrine Bowl. It's a one-time purchase of $30 via PayPal, Venmo, or the Cash App. You can check out the pinned comment or the description if you want to follow those links. And when you do purchase it, please be sure to include your email because it is a Google spreadsheet. So I'm going to require your email. Don't make me hunt it down, because I will hunt you down. I will find you, and I'll make sure you get your money's worth. Anywho, thanks for supporting the channel. At number 6 is my first actual true center on this list. Again, Jackson Slater, I think, can play guard and center. But this is Jared Wilson out of Georgia. He's 6'3", 311 pounds. I have him at 76 currently on my big board. And that's not to say he's like a center only prospect. I don't really think that's the case because, well, let's go through the background real quick. Former 3-star recruit from the 2021 recruiting class, played offensive line and linebacker in high school. Ends up going to Georgia, redshirts his freshman year, and was basically a reserve for the first couple of years. But in 2023, he actually got to, I don't think he actually started any games off the top of my head, but he did see significant time mostly at center, but he did also play guard. Like if they had injuries, he would step in. So I think there's potential to play guard, but his spot is probably center in the NFL because he would play there in 2024 after Cedric Van Pran went to the NFL and ended up being a second team All SEC. He did miss a couple of games with a foot injury. However, I said going into the combine, he's probably going to blow it up. He blew it up. Ran a 4.84 40. That's flipping insane. Had a 32 inches in the vert, 112 inches in the broad. His shuttle time was nuts at 4.56. He is an elite athlete. So fluid, great foot speed. Just has the ability to climb quickly to the second level or pull and get outside, get out in front of run plays or even screens. Like he is just a phenomenal athlete. So like no duh, wide zone blocking scheme makes a ton of sense for him. The hand usage and the leverage really does a good job of just being able to keep his anchor because he's pretty explosive out of his stance, but he plays with like good knee bend. He establishes good leverage from the onset. He has good length, relatively good length, close to 33-inch arms. And I think his hands are pretty solid, like decent grip. Plays with that dog in him, that bulldog in him, I suppose. And I think there are a lot of high end plays on tape when it comes to Jared Wilson. And keep in mind, this was his lone year as a starter there at Georgia, so there's plenty more meat on the bone. However, I wouldn't say the play strength is like spectacular. I think it's relatively fine. I think he could probably add more mass if he wants to, but there will be time where big body nose tackles give him the work, give him the business. His anticipation can be a bit inconsistent, specifically at the second level, where he just struggles to hit landmarks or locate and adjust to second level defenders. Just doesn't always put himself in the best position to effectively make a block. I think that'll come with more experience. Keep in mind, 1 full year as a starter. James Daniels. I absolutely loved James Daniels. A cat that played center and guard in the NFL, currently more of a guard than he is a center nowadays, but he looked pretty solid last year for Pittsburgh until he got hurt. Now he's with the Dolphins. Fins up, baby, fins up. So I like the James Daniels comp. I mean, you get a stout guy that can move exceptionally well, and then the comp writes itself. At number 5, it's Wyatt Milam out of West Virginia. He's 6'6", 315 pounds. And he was a former 4-star recruit out of the 2021 recruiting class, played offensive line and defensive tackle in high school, also played baseball, as well as could pitch over 80 miles per hour. So golly, that's kind of sick. Was basically an immediate starter for the Mountaineers, where he started 8 games his freshman year at right tackle, and then moved to the left side and has been the starter there for the last 3 years. He was a second team All Big 12 in 2023. He was a first team All Big 12 this past season. There's a lot to like here when it comes to Milam. Unfortunately, he can't play tackle in the NFL. Sub 33-inch arms. I don't think he's like a spectacular athlete for the position, which is a shame. But I think you kick him inside at guard, and those movement skills look a lot better because he's got solid movement skills for the interior. He can get going in a hurry, and he can pull. He can get out in front on those stretch plays. He's a very effective combo blocker, being able to like chip and go, climb to the second level. Plays with urgency. The hand placement's precise. The grip strength is very good, and he was very much a very smart player at tackle in college football, because like you knew you were dealing with a very average athlete with limited length, but where he would win was just as a technician, those precise hands, how he uses his hands. On top of that, being able to just, I always say, keep that head on a swivel. Be aware of not just what's in front of you, but what's going on around you. Where can I go to help? Is this guy coming in on a stunt? Are we being set up? Is there an extra blitzer coming? I think he does a very good job of that. However, again, the limited length, can't play tackle. Average athlete, can't play tackle. There are times where I think he does overextend in the run game. They're basically just getting out in front of his toes and leaning forward. There are also times where he dips his head on contact, which I'm just like, what you doing? And this is in pass protection. And that now you're taken away from what makes you a really good prospect is just how you're able to process how things are going, because now you're taking your eyes off of everything because you're buried in the bosom of the defender. So I didn't like that about him. He is tall. He plays tall. Leverage is going to be tough to get, tough to establish and maintain. I think we saw all those struggles at the Senior Bowl. Doesn't mean he's not a great player. The dude's been a great player for West Virginia for the better part of 3 years. I think there's a good player in there. I think there could be some significant struggles early on. In my head, I was like, oh, Luke Goedeke, which is kind of wild because it makes you think maybe he can play on the outside in the NFL. Because Goedeke, where he succeeded, was at right tackle. They kicked him in the guard. He had some struggles, moves out to right tackle, and barely solid. So all I'm saying is with Milam, I wouldn't count out tackle. That's not the first place I'm putting him. I'm not trying to kill his confidence from the get-go. I'm not. So start him off at guard, and hey, if injuries occur, if opportunity presents itself, then maybe you can kick him out and get a solid enough tackle. Coming in at number 4 is another my guy. It's Tate Ratledge out of Georgia. He's 6'6", 308 pounds, currently 65 on my big board. Former 5-star recruit from the 2020 recruiting class. He also competed in basketball and in track and field. In track and field, he placed 3rd in the shot put in the 2019 Class A private state championships. His father, Dean, played football at Tennessee Tech. Also had a brief little stint in the NFL. So Ratledge, he arrives at Georgia, basically was a reserve in 2020 and 2021. He started the whole season at right guard before having a season-ending foot injury. But at that point, it was like, oh, this is our right guard moving forward, and he would start in 2022. He would leave. He would miss one game in there with a dislocation. I didn't see where, so I don't know what limb the dislocation occurred. But 2023, it was second team All SEC. This past year, he was a first team All SEC, and keep in mind, this year wasn't necessarily as good as 2023 was, but in the middle of the year, he had tightrope surgery on the ankle, so he ended up coming back from that, but still maintained a relatively high level of play. I love Ratledge. Powerful frame. Like he has a big frame, plays with a lot of power, plays with a mean streak, revels in the physicality of the position, fires out of his stance, hits with some serious pop, does a good job of washing defenders out of the run game. He finishes blocks. He's got a really solid anchor. Like, I would say pass protection might be his best attribute, and he's a pretty solid run blocker. But he's just so good in pass protection. Like, keeps the head on the swivel, plays with good upper body strength, and can go against power. Obviously has the feet to keep up and mirror defenders. His testing times were nuts. 4.9, 740, a 32-inch vert. The 3-cone, 738. The broad, 113 inches. He was testing out in the upper percentile on all of those. And we're talking like 75th percentile or higher. So a very, very good athlete. Doesn't mean he's a perfect prospect. Inconsistent when hitting the second level and keeping leverage. Sometimes he gets a little too high, gets a little too upright. The hand usage. After his immediate strike, he doesn't always use his hands well, and he looks to kind of rest those hands and kind of like, okay, this is my positioning. This is what I'm keeping. There's really no, I don't want to say improv. I don't think that's the word I'm looking for, but you don't see him really really adjusting when he needs to. On top of that, angles in the run game could be a little bit better, but at the end of the day, I absolutely love this dude as a prospect. I keep looking at my big board. I was like, I want to push this guy higher. I think I would be willing. I'm willing to take this cat in the top 50. I like him that much. That's why Joe Tooney's the comp. Like, okay, let me take one of the top guards in the NFL. Yeah. Bradledge, he is that guy. At number 3 is Donovan Jackson out of Ohio State. He's 6'4", 317 pounds. Former 5-star recruit out of the 2021 recruiting class. Was a backup his freshman year, but then was immediately the starter at left guard in 2022. Made first team All Big Ten in 2022, as well as in 2023, and as well in 2024. Though there's a caveat here because things got interesting in 2024. So he started the year missing 2 games because of a hamstring injury. He started the first 5 games at left guard, but then because of injury, Josh Simmons went down. He ends up kicking out to tackle. His first game, I believe it was Penn State, Abdul Carter, absolute nightmare. You're just like, of course, man. Now he's gonna have a down year because he's playing a position he's not gonna play in the NFL. He's out there playing at tackle. But as the year went on, he got good, especially like the playoffs. You could argue offensively, he was their best player during the playoffs. On that championship run, he was the best player, dare I say. He was that stinking good, and I would give him a shot to play tackle in the NFL. I really, really would. He's got a very sturdy body, but he's such a great athlete. As you can see, 32 and a half inches in the vert. He's got that explosiveness. 32 reps on the bench. Hell yeah, let's go, man. Let's freaking go. But he's got the length at 34 and a half inch arms. That's why I say, hey, why not give it a shot? Let him fail at tackle before you kick him at guard. That's all I'm saying. Plays with urgency. You love to see it. The footwork, the hands, they all improved greatly, I think, in 2024. He was already trending in the right direction in terms of like, okay, he's developing well, but took it to another level having to play tackle. Really, really did. Plays with very active hands at that. Just a very good hand fighter. Very fluid feet as well. Doesn't mean he is a clean prospect. There are some things. He does struggle with speed versus power rushers. And that's where you see the contact balance kind of fail him a little bit, where he can get put on ice skates when he's having to face those guys. That's where you're going to hear it. Okay, so he's a guard. There's not much of a finisher mentality with him. I just don't think he plays with that nasty where he wants to bury guys. He just goes and, okay, I'm going to occupy my guy. You are my guy. I will occupy you. And there are times where he does get to the second level just a bit too quickly and just fails to locate who he needs to block because he gets there too fast. Hits his landmark a bit too fast, gets caught there like looking around, waiting like, okay, well, I guess I'm just going to continue to move upfield. And it's like, oh no. And there's the defender you should be getting. Again, these are all kind of nitpicks when it comes to Donovan Jackson. He's a phenomenal prospect. We're talking about him as a guard. Wyatt Teller, I can see it from the get-go. We're talking about a tackle. I could see a development. I can see the developmental curve, the learning curve, as Dan Moore Jr., who I didn't like Dan Moore coming out. I thought he was overdrafted. He kind of felt that way when he got to start early for the Steelers. But then, like, okay, he was slowly getting better. I was like, okay, this is a very high-end backup then in the NFL. Stepped it up this year, man. And I'm not saying Dan Moore is like the bee's knees. I think he's a quality starting tackle. Is he among the best? No. But he's a quality starting tackle. And again, if you take away some of his games against Myles Garrett. So I think Jackson, I think there could be, if you want to try him out at tackle, you might have to be patient. There's going to be that learning curve. But from the get-go, if you're a team that's like, you know what, we're okay at tackle. We just want a hell of a good guard. Hell of a good guard. At number 2 is Tyler Booker out of Alabama. He's 6'5", 326 pounds, former 5-star recruit from the 2022 recruiting class. We're talking about all these former 5-stars too. Anywho, he played both offensive and defensive line in high school. His uncle played offensive tackle at Michigan State and then played 3 years with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Oh, nice little fun fact. But immediately, Nick Saban knew, I got to get this guy in the rotation. So he actually played quite a bit on Alabama's offensive line as a freshman. I mean, so much so that he ended up making the SEC all-freshman team. Became the full-time starter in 2023 at left guard, was second team all-SEC. And then this past season, he was a first-team all-SEC. Did have one start at left tackle against, I believe it was South Florida, to some mixed reviews. But what are you getting here? Listen, this dude has some deceptive movement skills. Because keep in mind, he used to be 350 and moved pretty darn well at 350. I don't think he got really any better as an athlete, dropping the weight, which is kind of wild. But still, he's pretty deceptive in how well he can move. Because he can get out in front and block on screens, or you can have him pull or climb to the second level. I think he's adequate at that. I think people are making a little bit too much of a fuss when it comes to the foot speed. I'm not saying it's great, but I'm saying it's adequate enough that he could play in maybe an outside zone, wide zone blocking scheme. But I love it there? Not necessarily, but I think he could do it. Where you do want to play this cat is in a gap-heavy blocking scheme, because he is a big boy. He is long with them 35-inch arms. He is strong. Goodness gracious. He has got the length and strength just to impose his will on defenders. He plays that physical style that the NFL loves, just has that demeanor about him. I mean, shoot, we're already hearing the NFL loves him, that he's going to go a lot higher than people think, that he can sneak into the top 20. And I buy it. I believe it. Like, I think it was the Combine where you heard a lot of praise about his leadership, his work ethic. So just in general, great guy, great locker room presence, good player on the field as well. Legitimate people mover. Not a perfect prospect by any means. And this is kind of where the John Simpson comp comes from, because you look at the foot speed and it leaves a little bit to be desired. His hands could be maybe used a bit better as a pass protector. I feel a lot of that with Simpson. I think more so though, it's the change of direction or the hesitancy when dealing with maybe a little bit more complex setups or well-disguised stunts or extra blitzes. I thought Simpson was someone who struggled with that early on, and he's developed into a very quality starting guard in the NFL. Booker, you kind of see that on the tape where it's like I don't know if it's necessarily a change of direction thing. It could be with the way he tested in the broad. His 3-cone and shuttle times weren't anything special, but I think it's more so a hesitancy, maybe an anticipation thing. Good, not great athlete. I'm not mad at it. I think Booker is an immediate plug and play starter in the NFL. You want to take him at the back end of the first. I think that's where you start to think about him. Preferably, I kind of like him early second round. Hell of a good player though. And my number 1 is Gray Zabel out of North Dakota State. He's 6'6", 316 pounds. Someone who I keep looking at my big board and I want to move him up further. I look at him and I'm like, I want him in the top 20. Who do I need to put him above to get him there? And I just can't quite do it yet. We'll see when it's all said and done. Do I pull the trigger and I just put him in my top 20? Because I really, really want to. but he's a former zero-star recruit coming out of 2020, the 2020 recruiting class. Played both offensive and defensive line. Also played basketball and baseball in high school. His father played football at Northern State, and his mother ran track and field and played basketball at Northern State. So he walks on, right? He comes in that 2020 season. It's the Rona. They don't have a fall season. He ends up playing as a backup in the spring season. Missed a couple of games because of injury. Remained a backup the following year in 2021. But then in 2022, he got his time to shine. He played in all 15 games. He had 7 starts, 5 at right tackle, 1 at left guard, and then 1 as essentially a 6th offensive lineman. It's North Dakota State. They like to run the football. And then in 2023, full-fledged starter. He started his first 3 games, at left guard before switching to right tackle for the remainder of the season. And then this past year, he actually moved to left tackle and was a first-team All-Missouri Valley. So someone who's played both sides of the offensive line, has played tackle, has played guard. You look at the arm length, 32.25 inch. You're probably playing on the interior. And at the Senior Bowl, he got work at center. He got work at guard. He felt like the best player at the Senior Bowl. From the get-go, people were raving about him like, oh, wow. Oh, he's going to be in the first round mix. And he is. He's just so stinking good. Now, I look at the movement skills, the subpar length, and you think Peter Skoronski. Skoronski, I thought might get a shot at tackle in the NFL. Apparently length, not good enough. Not good enough. So never even got to sniff a start at tackle. I think Zabel is going to be the same way, which I'm okay with. I think he is going to be a hell of a good guard or center. I think he could play really in any scheme, but ideally you look at the movement skills and you're like, yeah, I want this dude in a outside zone blocking scheme because he is very explosive off the ball. He moves exceptionally great. And I talk about the explosiveness. I mean, the vert, 36.5 inches, the broad, 111 inches. Those are the explosive drills at the combine. And he absolutely murdered it. He crushed it. He's also a violent run blocker. Once he gets his grip, his hands on you, it's just like 2 meat hooks into the shoulders of the defender. And then he drives you back with just never-ending relentless leg drive. I love guys that just move their legs through contact, regardless of position. And he's one of those guys. The hand usage is pretty good. He plays with very active hands when he needs to. He can reset his hands exceptionally quickly. On top of that, he can reset his anchor exceptionally quickly. He's got the alignment versatility. Looked solid at center as well. And I don't typically love tall centers or tall guards, but he sinks well. He plays low. He's fine. Now let's do the little bit of the nitpicking. Against power, he can get knocked back initially. He does a good job of resetting quickly, but he does concede some ground. He can be vulnerable to inside moves. Part of that is his length. I think you mitigate that by just kicking him inside, putting him more in a phone booth. Lacks ideal length to play tackle. We already knew that. It's not really that big of a nitpick. I love the comp of Peter Skoronski. Maybe that's just me. Maybe after I get done with this video, I do move him up a little bit more. Again, I haven't finalized the big board. There's a couple other late round prospects I want to get to, but for the most part, my top 150, my top 200 is kind of cemented. But if I could get Zabel just at 20, I think I might be happy. I just wonder whose feet I got to step on to do that. But let's talk about some of the honorable mentions, some of the guys that just missed the list. Let me first bring up some of the players that you might expected in the interior rankings that are actually going to be in the guard ranking or in the tackle rankings. And Jonas Avenea is one. Maybe Anthony Belton, Charles Grant. All those guys maybe you expected to be in this video, they're going to be in my tackles video. So let's talk about these interior players. For me, Clay Webb was the next guy on the list. I loved him at the Senior Bowl. Him and Jackson Slater being guys that came from low levels of competition, but also keep in mind, Clay Webb, he was a former Georgia recruit, so not nearly the same as Jackson Slater, but they showed out. They had a very strong performance. Webb also a little shorter, so might end up being a center in the NFL, but I think he could stick it at guard. I like Jalen Rivers. He's powerful. He's got some length. I don't think he's quick enough to stay out at tackle, so probably a guard in the NFL. Caleb Rogers really started to like wear on me. Like, I love the movement skills from him. I think he had some fairly decent play at the Senior Bowl, just nothing that knocked my socks off. So like mid to late day 3, I think that could be a-okay. He is from Texas Tech. A dude that played right tackle and left guard this past year. So you like the versatility. Dylan Fairchild, I just don't know how to feel about him. I felt like he was solid this year, but it left me wanting more. I wish he was at a Senior or a Shrine Bowl. Maybe that's why I'm a little bit lower on him. Luke Kandra at Cincinnati. I know a lot of people like him as a potential like 3rd rounder. I'm not there with him. When I went to his tape, it's just I felt like the contact balance was inconsistent. I felt like he should have been stronger than what I saw on tape because he's just got that build to be at 6'5", 319, but kind of is what it is. A couple of the other guys that are like fringe centers, I suppose. Joshua Gray out of Oregon State can be a guard or a center. I love the movement skills. He's been a guy on my list for like 3 years now. I've been waiting for him to come out. He is finally now out, and kind of wild his final year at Oregon State because he primarily was playing left tackle there. It was like that was the tackle tandem in 2023. It was Bwanga and Gray, and then in his final year he kicks into guard. Willie Lampkin, I loved him at Coastal Carolina. He goes to North Carolina. And I mean, you want to bet on him. But he's 5'10", 279. Makes me scary. I haven't put down his athletic scores from the pro day, but didn't sound encouraging. So like, I like the grit. But just not there. Drew Kendall feels like just a very solid player that's going to stick around the league for a long time. His father, Pete, played offensive line for Boston College, and he was drafted in the 1st round in 1996, where he played 13 years in the NFL. So the pedigree is there. Like, I feel like Kendall, I might move ahead on my board in front of Lampkin. I don't see him. I'm not going to move him ahead of Joshua Gray. I'm a big sucker for Gray, the guy that I've watched for so long. I just can't do it. I just can't. But those are some of the honorable mentions. Let me know who you think maybe should have made the list or where I got it wrong. Let me know your rankings in the comment section below. Again, a special thanks to our friends over at Underdog Fantasy. But as always, until next time, you be easy, my friends. Later.